to Leading for Life Stories, Season 3. I'm Bob Judson, I'm the host for this podcast, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you here joining me. Regardless of whether you're a seasoned listener who's been with me since the beginning, or whether you've just dropped in for the occasional episode, I really hope you enjoy the mix of content that I provide, the personal stories, the thematic episodes, and the guests that I have on the show. And I hope you find it all interesting and at least some of it useful. And without further ado, let's go. Welcome back, everyone. I was originally going to do a personal story this week, but a couple of things have happened in the last couple of weeks when I've been away working, first in Riyadh, and then most recently I've just got back from working with Deloitte University in Paris, and it gave me sort of pause for thought, which I'll come to do another thematic episode. And I guess I'm thinking about that partly because we're closing on the end of another year, which is amazing. I don't know where time goes this year. It really does seem to flash by. Everyone said that when I was younger, that as you get older, it goes quicker, and it really does, which is extraordinary. But also just talking about, the world of work and the fact that, after 45 years of work, for me now, I'm thinking and quite regularly being asked and talking to people about kind of why I still do what I do. And in fact, the course I was doing in Paris is very much about, why should anyone be led by you? It's the high impact leadership course that the Deloitte University run. And so that whole topic of purpose really came to front of mind. And I thought it was just worth a bit of a conversation, because it is one of those things I think that is quite important in life, is thinking about your own purpose. Why do you do what you do? And, what keeps you motivated to do what you do? And are you really being honest with yourself about why you're approaching things in a certain way, or why you're sticking with a job when actually you don't necessarily enjoy it, etc.? And I've said on earlier podcasts, I really, when I look back across my entire working life, I measure it with two things. One was enjoying what I do, and luckily I've never really had a problem with that. I've never struggled to enjoy the roles I've had, whether they're in the military or beyond the military. And the other one, though, was looking in the mirror and being content with the reflection that looked back at me. And certainly that was more challenging at the back end of my military career, in terms of selling the Kool-Aid to people that you wouldn't want to necessarily drink yourself. Fundamentally, you're thinking about the real challenges of policy and so on that you're having to implement and sell as good ideas to people, even though you really don't necessarily subscribe to that yourself. And certainly in the military, there was only there were two options in life: accept it, do it, and follow the kind of direction of travel, or leave. And so ultimately, that was one of the things that that piled onto the kind of straws on the camel that eventually led to me leaving. But now it's even more relevant in some ways. I'm 10 years on from the Air Force. I've worked for Deloitte. I'm now working for myself for the last 8 years, really. Coming up in February anyway, it's 8 years. And that is making me kind of think a little bit more about this. And therefore I thought it'd be relevant to talk on an episode thematically about why purpose matters. Why is it important to anybody in any walk of life to think about why they do what they do? Because purpose isn't a slogan. It's not a job title. It's not a motivational poster. It's absolutely the reason you get out of bed in the morning and and go and do whatever it is you do. And particularly on the challenging days, having a purpose really, really matters. And a lot of people, I think, drift through life without necessarily thinking about that. And I think particularly when they change careers, if you get to the end of a long career and you suddenly sit back and go, well, okay, I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm just going to relax and drift into retirement or whatever. Not having a purpose is a real challenge. It's a real potential challenge to your health, physical health, because you do need a reason to get out of bed in the morning. You do need something that is going to motivate you and kickstart you and get you kind of moving in the right direction. And you need to be thinking about that. I mean, I guess just ask yourself the question: if someone asked you tomorrow why you do what you do, what would you answer? And could you do it without any hesitation? Are you really clear on what your purpose is in what you do? Because if you're not, start giving it some thought, because I think it's really, really relevant to do that. It's something that definitely shapes through life. It changes through life. I think your purpose is very different when you're younger to when you're older. Potentially, it might be the same, but in most instances, I think it evolves, and it gets defined by some big steps in life. I mean, for me now, without a shadow of a doubt, my prime work purpose is around giving back to anyone I can give back to, what I've learned, what I've taken from all the different things I've done, the phenomenal opportunities I've had along the way. And that's why I love doing the training work that I do to bring that to particularly young to sort of middle management audiences in the main. I love it when I coach senior people as well, because actually there's a same thing. There's a sharing of that experience and bringing some of that kind of life's journey to the fore in terms of those kind of conversations with people. And I love speaking about it. I absolutely love having the opportunity to talk to audiences and kind of share my story, and hopefully some tips and techniques and ideas and thoughts fall from that people can pick up and make use of. And it's not entirely altruistic. I mean, I won't won't deny that. I didn't start the podcast entirely altruistically either. I mean, I started doing this because I wanted to build my brand a little bit, give myself some brand exposure, and diversify my kind of audience a little bit, so more people were aware of kind of who I am and what I do. And it's been, I guess, a limited success to that. The people that I get feedback from on the podcast seem to enjoy it, and that's lovely. And I really enjoy it as well, and I really enjoyed particularly the guest episodes. So I think it's worked from that point of view. It's not transitioned massively into paid work, and I would love it to do a bit more of that in terms of people picking up, me and doing stuff with me that is going to be speaking engagements or training engagements or whatever it happens to be. So, by the way, if you ever think there's an opportunity for that, and you're able to turn around and think I might be a good candidate for speaking to your company or an audience that you know or whatever, then please do get in touch. I absolutely love to do that kind of work. So I'd be really, really happy to do it. But the aim of the podcast really is to talk about you and everyone listening to this and thinking about your own purpose, because often it is the thing that comes clear in hindsight. It's you start looking backwards and you start going, why do I do what I do? It shifts, as I've already said, and you need to make sure that your purpose kind of fits you and works for you as you evolve in life, because it's different to just pure achievement. Achievement is kind of external, it's measurable, it's in ranks, it's in promotions, it's in salary, compensation more generally. Purpose is much more internal and much more enduring, I think, and it's very much around intrinsic motivation. It's around what gets you, up in the morning, literally, is having something that's going to do that. And I don't confuse the two. I think sometimes people do confuse the two. Success isn't necessarily always aligned to purpose. You can absolutely be very successful and still feel unfulfilled and feel empty. That's not helpful to you. You want to be in a position where you're feeling that you have actually achieved something that is valuable, and you're whatever it is you're doing, whether it's remunerated, unremunerated, whether it's just actually domestic and at home in the family, that can be purpose. It doesn't have to be something that is directly work driven, but it really is what remains when you strip away all that external kind of validation stuff. So if you're taking away all of that, then you start looking at, right, what is my purpose? And again, I guess that's another question to pose to you, because ultimately, if everything you had that is a kind of title, whether you're a chief executive, when you're a managing director, whether you're a senior officer in the armed forces, if all that's taken away from you, what's left? What's left, and what matters to you, and what are you going to do? Because that starts to get to the core of your purpose. I think another kind of element to this is purpose often really shows up when there's pressure involved. When you're feeling under pressure, that's when you fall back on why it is I do what I do. Sometimes you can just drift along and not necessarily have to think about that. But when times are a bit tougher, you need to really focus on what is it that I want to do, and how much am I prepared to sacrifice of my kind of purpose if I need to do something that actually takes me to the next direction that I need to get in. And occasionally you have to make compromises. Occasionally you might be doing something that clearly is not really aligned to your actual desires, your long-term ambition, your life purpose, just because ultimately it's a financial thing that you need money at a particular time and you need to take a particular role or whatever it happens to be. But it's often really tested when there's stuff that's up at stake here. So that's why the under pressure thing really matters. If you're at risk of losing something, that's when your purpose often really shines through the most in terms of what you're going to do. So sometimes decisions that you might take really difficult, but they actually feel really right because ultimately that aligns to your purpose and focus and your own value set. That again are kind of, I guess, inextricably aligned to your purpose. Your values are going to be somewhere tied up to together with those, and you need to really think about how you live your life with some purpose. It's not about single decisions. It's about a focus of what you're going to do with the remainder of your life, and your purpose can evolve along the way, obviously. But being really clear that you have to have one. You don't want to be drifting along and suddenly be thinking, why am I doing this? Because if you are, it's time to start looking in the mirror and going, okay, I need to think about this a little bit harder. Because you don't want to get to my age or any age really and be thinking, I really wish I'd done something completely different with my life. Definitely be very clear that purpose matters. Purpose will define you. It will shape you in terms of your own value of what you have achieved yourself in yourself. I look at myself now and I think, I had a great Air Force career. I absolutely loved everything I did. I had a successful time in Deloitte. I've had a very successful time doing my own thing in business and running my company. And my satisfaction, professional satisfaction, is not derived from cash in the bank, and luckily, or anything like that. It's much more derived from feeling that I have left a mark on people when we've done work together and done some training and so on. That actually I have helped them. I've given them some tools, some techniques, some ideas, some themes that they can take forward, and so that is absolutely my motivator. And when I talk to my wife, not least about roles I might take on and things I might do, not least because we still do definitely need an income and need money coming into the household, then I'm firmly looking now at things that elevate and align with my purpose. I'm not really interested in roles that don't fit that, purely because I don't have enough years left to allow for that. I don't want to be in a position where I'm feeling I'm doing something that is completely indistinct from where I want to head to. I definitely want to be clear that I'm aligning what I do to my purpose. And another of those questions I'm going to pose to you now. Just have a think about this. In terms of what you did day to day. Just asking yourself at the end of the day, did my actions today align with who I say I am? Back to my mirror argument. Looking in the mirror, being content with the reflection that looks back at you. Are you happy with what you actually did? Are you genuinely being quite authentic in your approach to whatever it is you do? And is that aligned to what you think you should be doing, what you believe you should be doing, what you believe in? Can you lose it? Yeah, of course you can lose it. You can lose your way, and many people do, and you can find your way back. But I think it's not surprising when people burn out, when they go through big periods of transition, that suddenly they find themselves a bit lost. I think if you look at the military, a lot of people leaving the military, you suddenly find at the end of a very long career, often they've now stepped out into some complete unknown, and it can feel very, very isolated. And you need to think about that quite carefully when you're in that position to make sure you look for some anchors to bring you back, to hold on to something that is actually going to give you a new purpose, a new reason for getting out of bed in the morning, a new reason for the life that you're living. Because if you don't do that, then it's it can make life really challenging, obviously. So you definitely need to be focused on it. And I don't think necessarily this has to be, again, completely altruistic. I mean, I'm not suggesting that, your life's purpose needs to be charitable missions or whatever. I mean, people do that, and that's great. And there's obviously a huge value in people that are absolutely motivated by vocational things and working for charities, working for pro bono organizations, doing good works around the world. And if that suits your purpose, then that's absolutely fabulous, and that's great. But equally, your purpose can be entirely motivated around success within commercially orientated businesses. There's nothing wrong with that. And feeling that you're driving an organization to a greater success, and your role within that organization is driving it to greater success. You're doing the best you can in whatever form that is, even if you're not in a significant leadership role. You need to be conscious that I'm doing my part and I'm feeling fulfilled. Fundamentally, that's what this is about. Are you feeling fulfilled with what you do? And if you're not, then trying to find a way to actually getting yourself back to being more fulfilled, I think, is really, really important. And just look at who's the beneficiary, of what you do, the way you lead your life. Who benefits? How are they benefiting? Are they the ones you want to benefit? Are you feeling that's the right kind of outcome that you want? It's not something that you kind of just do, tick the box, move on, and right, I've got purpose and got that sorted. This is an ongoing thing that you need to keep thinking about. You need to keep evolving. You need to keep driving into your life to think very hard about, how do I continue to live up to my own value set when my life sort of role has changed. How do I make sure that I'm still focused on whatever my purpose is? And that may well be more personal at times or more professional at times, or a combination of the two. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. What matters is you have it. Because if you don't have it, then you just get lost and you drift, and you just feel that life's not really where I need to be. And there'll be dragons down that road. That's not a great place to be. That can lead you to all sorts of health dramas, physical health dramas. Just think about the amount of times that you've been really, really busy and you stop doing whatever it is you were doing, and then you catch a cold. You've gone on holiday for the first time in ages, and you get ill because suddenly your body's just got relaxed. Actually, if you have a purpose to do stuff and you're getting life, living life on purpose and getting out of bed to do something, it is going to help you health wise. It's definitely going to help you health wise. I'm not saying run yourself into the ground, firmly not, but you do need to think about what is it that I'm bringing that actually is going to help me in terms of that life purpose. So just think about it. As you move towards the end of this year and looking into 2026 around the corner, um, I just want you to create some thought space for yourself. What is your purpose? What motivates you? What gets you out of bed? What really gives you the reason to continue doing what it is you're doing? Are you focused on achieving that thing? Do you actually want to go to a different place in terms of what you do? I hope that's useful, because I think it's come up a number of times in recent conversations when people have talked to me about me and why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I continue to do what I'm doing, and it's given me a reason to refocus on it, and therefore I thought it would be quite useful just to have this fairly short episode to talk to you about it as well, because I think without purpose it might makes life pretty challenging, and therefore I hope that I've given you at least something to think about as you head into the festive season for a good part of the world, and make sure you've got a purpose. Make sure you're really thinking about what that purpose is. If I can help you with it, I can help you, by talking about more of this kind of stuff. I would be delighted to do that because that is what my purpose is. And as I say, I'm not entirely altruistic about it. I'm definitely looking for opportunities that take myself into speaking environments and training environments and so on with more organizations to be able to share what little wisdom I have and what experience I have with audiences that I think I can potentially help. So if that's something that you can help me with, then I would be only too delighted to hear from you. Thanks very much indeed. I'll be back very, very soon, next time with a guest episode for sure. Speak soon. If you found this content valuable, and I really hope you have, then do a couple of things for me, please. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow if you're watching or listening on a podcast platform. And make sure you're commenting, you're resharing, you're reposting, because an amazing amount of you don't do that. I mean, I have quite a lot of listeners now. The podcast's in 105 countries now, which is fabulous. But I would really like to continue to boost it. I'd continue to ratchet it up so that more people get to hear it, because all the feedback I get from listeners is that people really like it. They find the content really valuable and really interesting. So please do help me with that. I can't do that on my own. I need you to help me. So do share it, do push it out, do subscribe, because all that helps in terms of algorithms and visibility for things as well. And obviously, if you're up for it, then I would be absolutely delighted if you financially supported the podcast via Patreon as well, or by the support the show link in your podcast platform. It makes a difference. It really does, in terms of me just making sure the podcast is viable. To have that additional extra financial support really boosts it in terms of me feeling that actually it's worth me continuing to do it. So if you are willing to help me with that, I would be extremely delighted. So very, very straightforward. Just go to patreon.com or to the support the show link, which will take you to patreon.com, and sign up as either a supporter, a champion, or a patron of the show. If you want to buy me an early Christmas present, that would be really kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. Look forward to it. Speak soon, and take care with whatever you're doing. Bye now.